Namo Buddhaya, Namaste. So what personality type are we? How do we ascertain that? And how do we go about improving, adjusting what is necessary? If we take our practice as a whole to see how it is progressing, we must look back in time. It's a gradual change, a gradual progression, so we need to look back a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, even 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We will see a change if we have been practicing Sila, Samadhi, Panya. We will see an increase in wholesome mind states and a decrease in unwholesome mind states. Now, what are these wholesome and unwholesome mind states? These can be, attributed to the 3 root defilements, which are greed, hatred, and delusion. And the counterpart to greed, hatred, and delusion would be generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom. So these are the unwholesome and wholesome mind states, but of course these are the root causes of our defilements and can be broken up into many levels and categories, spectrums if you like. So with hatred, the spectrum goes from something quite as innocent as boredom to all out wanting to punch somebody on the nose. This is the spectrum of that root defilement, hatred. Greed, similarly, just, let's have another sweet. Or really being a greedy person in money, materialistic objectives and goals and aspirations. How do we determine, and is it necessary to determine, if one of those 3 or all of those 3 are predominant in our personality structure? Well, of course, we are trying to eradicate Sakkaya Ditthi, personality view, but in order to do this over time, this slow progression of practice, one needs to understand which defilements need work. Now, one way of doing this, and a very important thing I want to talk about today, which I haven't spoken about much previously, is reflection, daily reflection. This is a little bit more than looking back in the past to see how you've progressed, because each day, and I would suggest at the end of each day, prior to your evening meditation, you take a short while, 10 minutes, 5 minutes only maybe only a couple of minutes. If you've been doing it every day, it'll be less and less time. But to reflect on the day you have just had. Now, firstly, in order to ascertain how you've been practicing with regards to aspects on the Eightfold Path, let's look at mindfulness. So remembering, so sitting before your meditation in the evening, trying to look back and remember when mindfulness first came into play during this day that has just gone. Did you wake up and was your first thought, this is my breath in, and this is my breath out? Or was it, oh no, another day, you jumped out of the bed, you put the kettle on, you were cleaning your teeth, and then at some point around 11 o'clock when you were having a cup of coffee, you thought, now it is time to be mindful. Oh, this is mindfully enjoying a cup of coffee. Now this would be a reflection which would tell you that you haven't been practicing all day. So when you open your eyes, whatever your meditation object is, bring your awareness to that. And of course, at first this becomes difficult, but with time it becomes easier and easier. And you will find, in time, your first thought of the day will be towards your meditation object. Now, the beautiful thing about using the breath, breathing, or a simple mantra as your meditation object, And I prefer the breath because it is also indicative of how you're feeling and what is going on. It is also in the body, bringing your attention back into this body. It is also not in the past or the present. We can only breathe now. So it is drawing the time right into the present moment. So if you can wake up and establish a pattern of right from the moment you wake up, bringing your attention and awareness to the breath, this will bode well for the day ahead. I can promise you that. So this is the first part of your reflection. Was I mindful through my day? Was I distracted? It was a busy day. Did I handle it well? Did I handle it? Could I have handled it better? I saw some people. I spoke to a person. Did I give them my full attention, or was my mind elsewhere? All of these questions one can ask whilst reflecting upon the day you've had. And from those discerning questions about your day to yourself, you can arrive at some conclusions as to what the motivation behind your actions in this day was. And it will be, in some way, maybe in a subtler way, but it will be in some way motivated on greed, hatred, or delusion. Delusion, by the way, is just a lack of understanding, confusion, ignorance. Okay? The first two, greed, is quite a bit easier to understand. Hatred is quite a bit easier to understand. They're not quite the opposite, because within themselves they have opposites. So in greed you can have it, as I say, a scale. And the antidote is generosity, giving. With hatred, likewise a scale, you might not have to hate somebody else, you might just hate or dislike the situation you're in. Now this may be ringing some bells, because of course it should. It is basically what the 5 hindrances are of sensual desire, wanting something nice, tasty, attractive, entertaining, something you haven't got you wish you had. Ill will, which could be akin to hatred or not liking what you have. Then sloth and torpor is the tiredness, and this can come as a result of boredom, ill will, or it can come as a result of having too much of something you like, sensual desire. Restlessness and worry, again, as a result of those first two, and doubt. Well, this is delusion. Doubt about everything you're doing, why you're doing it, whether it's this practice or even the job you do, or the relationship you have, or the car you drive, or the way you walk to work. These things are doubt. So, in this daily reflection, we can probably identify that, say, at lunchtime, I had some extra cake after my lunch and I had a little bit too much to eat. And rather than take the extra back to share with my friends in the office, I put it in my bag and then ate it in the It's a bit extreme. Ate it in the car park when I got there, or something like this. You know, this is going to identify in your mind that you had a little bit of greed, or let's just call it sensual desire. It's a nicer way of putting it, as perhaps a basis for your type. Now, I don't want to typecast and personality type people, but we do have within ourselves a tendency towards one or two or all of these in different proportions, these greed, hatred or delusion. Now, whether this comes from our past life efforts in the practice, because if you have an understanding of past lives and karma, you will already understand by now that you're only in this place practicing as you are as a result of that. So you would have been already in previous lives working on greed, hatred, delusion, these defilements. Because it is these defilements that we are working on in the practice to arrive at the end of suffering. The Four Noble Truths: there is suffering, cause of suffering, end of suffering, path leading to the end of suffering. This path is Sila, Samadhi, Panya, the practice. The end of suffering is that, and it can be attained in this lifetime if you understand the cause. Now the cause is desire, but desire is more than just wanting. It is as a result of these root defilements: greed, hatred, delusion. So desire is greed, you want something you haven't got. It's also hatred because it's not wanting something you have got, or not wanting someone or something. So it covers all bases. So in this reflection, if we can identify our strong areas, firstly, where we were kind to ourselves, where we were kind to other people, where we gave someone a lot of attention and listening and this kind of thing, and also where we could have done a little bit better. And those areas where we could have done a little bit better are where we perhaps can focus in order to try and reduce those defilements, those hindrances, let's call them from now on, because by reducing those hindrances we are developing wholesome mind states, reducing unwholesome mind states. We are increasing generosity, we are increasing loving kindness, we are increasing wisdom. Wisdom it doesn't have to be intellectual, it's an understanding of this very principle we're talking about here now. So each day, if you reflect, identify which areas can be improved upon, it gives you a little bit of a start to the following day's reflection. Today I identified my personality type could be on the side of, let's say, greed. So I will work on generosity tomorrow. So the next day you work on generosity. It may last a while, it may not last long at all. But at the end of the day, before you meditate, you go about your reflection. How did I do today with greed? Did I practice generosity? If you did, you'll find that you had very little greed, because it is an antidote. It is the opposite. So likewise with loving kindness, if you have a tendency towards disliking and hatred and being annoyed by people, if you can develop loving kindness, metta, for real, not just sitting there in meditation telling yourself to love all beings and such like, to actually look at people with a different view. Even people that are annoying you, look at them from the point of view, how does their mother feel about them? Their mother loves this person unconditionally. Their wife probably loves them, their children love them, or whatever relationships. You can find always assurance and comfort in the fact that a mother loves her child unconditionally. And in one of our chants it is that, like a mother loves her child, her only child, is the quote, which is so beautiful and important because it reminds us we are all sons or daughters of mothers, and all beings are sons or daughters of mothers. And if you even look at the little cows that I put, the big cows, the little cows that I put on these short videos sometimes, the relationship between the mother, the father and the calf, it is such a beautiful and secure family unit that's held together purely with love, metta, loving kindness. And it is a gentle love, not a lustful, aggressive kind. It is that you must bring to mind when you're faced with aversion against people, beings. It doesn't have to be people even. You may have an aversion to dogs, aversion to cats. Whatever. They all have mothers. So this would have been an exercise at the end of the day, reflecting, how was my aversion to cats, dogs, or the man who works in the paper shop? Well, it was still a bit there. I still don't like him. I'm sure he shortchanges me. I'm sure he serves me after everybody else, but you know, he's got a mother. His mother loves him. The next day, that mother's love will grow in you also. You'll start to even have compassion and understand why he's like he is. And you will feel happier as a result of it. And you will have developed a wholesome mind state in loving kindness and metta, which has made the unwholesome mind state of hatred or ill will absolutely impossible to manifest. And when it does, you perform the same. But it's only with this daily reflection, and just a reminder, this is best done at the end of the day, just before your meditation. Yes, not after, otherwise you'll be thinking, what am I going to say in my reflection whilst you're meditating? So finish your reflection, get it all out there. If you need to write it down on a piece of paper, write it down on a piece of paper. But finish it before your evening meditation. This way it's done. And for those of us that like lists, I like lists, and the Buddha liked lists because we have so many beautiful numbered lists to help us understand all of this stuff. If you like that, make lists and write it down before your meditation. But it's not necessary, just a daily reflection. Keep it simple. Greed, hatred and delusion. Which am I? Oh, I'm all hatred. I can't do this metta stuff. I hate everybody. If this is your way, then the antidote is loving kindness. Not in a false way. Just see it in others. And it will build up. It will bubble up. It will generate in you. You can't force yourself to like someone that you don't like. But if you can see from a different point of view that someone loves them, you too will also be able to love them one day. Believe me. This is the practice. This is the whole point. Because by developing these wholesome mind states, reducing these unwholesome mind states, we have reduced and eventually eradicated desire. We have then reduced and eradicated those 5 hindrances that prevent our success in daily ordinary life and our success in attainment at meditation. The hindrances will arise, of course they will, but they will so easily be ignored by you, deflected by you, counteracted by you through this practice. So please try this daily reflection and see how it goes. You will find it will make your meditation more enjoyable, and it will mean you will become a happier person through the contentment that you build through this simple practice of reflection each and every day before your meditation. So I shall leave it there for today and wish you all the contentment and resulting happiness that there is to be had in this lifetime. May your practice be fruitful and above all enjoyable. Namo Buddhaya, Sukhi Hotu.